Hey guys, welcome back to Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel today, and hope everybody's well out there. Today I want to talk about how to quickly and what's the fastest way to eliminate dead water in a lake, because when you're dealing with a large lake, even if it's like 1,000 acres, anything over 1,000 acres, you know, there's a lot of water that doesn't have fish in it. Some lakes more than others. Some lakes have a lot of dead water in it, some not so much. But I want to talk about sort of a system that's worked pretty good for me on how I eliminate dead water. And I'm not talking about, you know, using your freaking forward-facing sonar to eliminate dead water. I'm talking about real bass fishing. So we're going to dig into that in today's episode here. Also, guys, before we get started, thank you very much, man, for everybody that has hit that subscribe button here at Intuitive Angling. That's a free and easy way to support the channel. If you hit the subscribe button and like the videos, comment on the videos, and especially if you hit that hype button when you see it, that really pushes the videos out. And an extra big thank, guys, to everybody that has been contacting me and commenting and saying that, hey, Randy, I'm using your tackle warehouse link that you have in your video descriptions to purchase my tackle or rod and reels or whatever. Big thank you for me and my family, guys. That really helps the channel out. And that link is found in every video description if you guys would like to support the channel like that. So appreciate it. Okay, you know, one of the things that takes time in bass fishing, and this is sort of like part of the process, and the process is what makes bass fishing fun. It's like, it's not necessarily the end result, it's the whole process of learning about fishing and figuring it out. But one of the things that's going to take you a long time, or longer than anything, is to how to eliminate dead water in a lake. Because there's an old adage that 90% of the fish live in 10% of the water, and there's a lot of truth with that, especially when you're talking about fish that live in like less than 20 foot of water, which most of us, you know, fish less than 20 foot of water. So here's some things that you can do, and a lot of it is based upon the lake that you're fishing, because some lakes simply have a lot more dead water. For example, like Grand Lake in Oklahoma, if you've ever been there, or Lake Eufaula in Alabama. Some lakes like that, there's a lot of dead water. You just can't go anywhere and catch them. You can fish, you know, 75% of the shoreline and never get a bite. And then you go to some lakes, maybe like Bull Shoals in Arkansas, some of those northern smallmouth lakes up there, Table Rock Lake. You have a shot, you have a chance to catch a bass about anywhere on that lake, just the way the lake lays out. And in general, what you're going to find is the lakes that have the dirtier water have more dead water than the lakes that have the clearer water. That's sort of what I have seen. So here's a system that you can do to quickly eliminate water fast. First thing you have to do is you have got to understand seasonal movements and patterns of bass and where they live at certain times of the year. And this is the thing that takes some discipline to figure out, because based upon the time of the year, and especially based upon the water temperature, based upon the water clarity, there are simply sections of the lake that normally hold more bass at certain times of the year. And I'll sort of give you a sort of a foundation on how I started out, and then I can modify it from there. If the water's cold, so say for the water temperatures under 50 degrees where I'm fishing at, I always look for the cleanest water in the lake. The colder the water that you're fishing, the clearer the water that you need to be in. So that's one way. And as the water gets warmer, let's say the water's in the mid-range between like 55 to 70, that opens up a lot of the mid part of the lake, because usually the mid part of the lake has the sort of like the medium water clarity versus the whole lake. So that's sort of a good area of the lake when that water temperature is in that range. And when that water temperature is warmer, like say over 75 degrees, I like the upper end of the lake, because it normally has dirtier water, and those fish bite a little bit better in dirty water when it's warm, for the way that I like to fish. So that's how I segment the lake up in 3 different sections. This eliminates a lot of water in a hurry, because say, for example, you go fishing in February, you know that you probably need to concentrate on the lower third of the lake. So that eliminates 75% of the lake or close to it right off the bat. You know, for fishing, you know, in the mid part of the year when that water temperature's in that mid-range, you know, you can concentrate sort of in that middle section of the lake. So that narrows the lake down more, and vice versa when it gets warmer. So right off the bat, knowing the seasonal movement of the bass is going to eliminate 75% of the lake right off the bat. Okay, so given that, let's say, for example, I decide that I want to fish, you know, it's winter time, and I decide I want to fish on the lower end of the lake. How do I find bass the quickest? First thing first thing you want to do again is you want to identify like the predominant cover in the lake. Is there grass? Is there not grass? You know, is there bluffs? Are there gravel or mud banks? What is the predominant type of cover, you know, on those lakes in correlation with the water clarity? And that's going to give me the possible structures. So let's say in a typical lake, I've decided on fishing the lower end of the lake, and this lake has got some good bluff banks on it. There's some good main lake points on it. There may be some rock transitions, all that type of stuff. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the high percentage areas for cold water, which is going to be fishing points and fishing bluffs. And I'm going to try that with the typical techniques for that time of year: jerk baits, little swim baits, maybe some finesse jigs, maybe some, you know, A-rig or something like that, just depending upon the lake. And that is going to put me around fish. I'm in the right part of the lake, and I've identified the premium structures. In the next phase there, let's say water temperature 65 or 70 degrees, and you know that the fish are in and around those spawning areas. Their fish are close to spawning, or maybe they're just got done spawning or getting ready to. So I know that if that water temperature is in the 60s, those fish are focused on spawning. So I'm going to look for those type of areas in the mid part of the lake. I'm going to be looking for protected coves, protected bays, you know, flatter banks with hard bottoms that offer the premium type spawning areas. And I'm going to concentrate my efforts on those. I'm not going to be out on the main lake. I'm not going to be on the steeper structures. I'm not going to be on the points. I'm going to be in those suitable type of spawning areas. That's going to eliminate water quick. And on the other end, let's say, for example, it's July, it's hot, and I want to fish the upper end of the lake where it's a little bit dirtier. I go up in that type of area, and I want to pick apart and decide what the predominant cover is. Let's say you get way up there and you've got a bunch of lay down logs on flat banks. I may go up there and throw a spinner bait or a square bill crankbait around those shallow logs. If whatever bank cover up there is available, I'm going to hit it, because in that shallow, dirtier water, those fish are going to be on the bank. So I've eliminated so much water. That's allowing me to find those fish quick. Now, once you decide on the area and you have an understanding about the seasonal patterns, you have to decide what lure you want to use in correlation with that. And it can be a lot of different ones, because there's always a bunch of different lures that will work in different conditions. So I have what's called the 15-minute rule that allows me to find the right lure very quickly. I get into an area and I'll go with what my first choice is. Let's say the water's 45 degrees and I think they're going to bite a jerk bait. I'll pull up on a couple areas and fish them for 15 or 20 minutes with a jerk bait. If I don't get a bite, then I might pick up a little 3-inch swim bait, or I may parallel that bank with a wiggle wart, or I may throw a little finesse jig. I'll do each one of those for like 15 minutes. And if I'm not catching them, if the adjustment works and I'm catching them, great. But if it doesn't work, then I go to the next phase and I'll change up like the color of the lure. Instead of using maybe like a translucent jerk bait, I'll go to a metallic finish. Or instead of like using a red crawdad wiggle wart, I go to a brown crawdad wiggle wart until I hit around on the right combination. So the main thing, guys, is just get your foundation of your seasonal patterns and movements, and then use your own ingenuity and creativity to figure it out from there. So anyway, hope it helps out. We'll talk later.